Welcome, 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 everyone, to the Women's Empower Network. I am so excited to have my first interview after my birthday and a few days off, getting my feet wet with Mindy. So, thank you, Mindy, for being here.
Thank you, and happy belated birthday to you too.
Thank you. Yeah, they get more and more exciting, actually.
And we should celebrate. We don't celebrate nearly as much as I think that we should. I think that I saw as I was kind of doing a little scroll through my social media today. Someone was just celebrating something small, and we had an election here in Canada yesterday, and she had gone to vote and was treating herself to a cookie, and I think, you know what, we should really do that a little bit more and celebrate some of those, not necessarily milestones, but little accomplishments every day. So I
I
wish you a
agree. Thank you. It's so true. We tend to be hard on ourselves and always thinking more, more, more. But
yeah.
that's great. Well, so now that you're here, we would love to get to know you a little bit more. So, or just get to know you, period. Um, if you could tell us a little bit about your story and journey that led you to what you're passionate about today.
I'm currently a Reiki Master, and I am a psychic medium.
Oh,
And
nice.
and as a child, I knew, I could see spirits, and I was terrified of it as a child. Raised in a Catholic home, loving
Oh, my.
home, but that wasn't normal. Nobody went to school and talked about the ghost in their bedroom, so I stuffed it down. I'm like, no, go away, leave me alone, leave me alone. And they did. Spirit respects your boundaries. So they left me alone for a very long time. And it wasn't until I was in my 20s and went to see a psychic myself that I realized that this was a thing. And then I was, well, how do I get it? How do I get it back? They've kind of gone away for a while. What do I do? And I had aligned myself with a medium that I used to go see. Her name was Cindy McIntyre, and she's brilliantly gifted. And she took me under her wing. I worked with her for a little while, and I started reading, and I started learning, and I started practicing, and I was gifted some tarot cards, and I just sort of started to get into it from there. I was My work was completely different. I was a reporter, so I came from my work background was as cynical as you can get. Right, we're in a fact based workspace, and I was just doing this as a hobby and with friends. And then, my friends started saying, well, will you do this for a friend of a friend? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So it just started to grow until one of my friends said to me, Mindy, why are you not doing this for your life work? And I'm like, oh, that's a good question. Perhaps I must get out of my own way. So I did. And here I am. I've been operating my business, Intuitive Matters, for about the last 5 to 6 years now. And it was only a couple of years ago that I built a website and kind of put it out there. And once I did, honestly, I started swimming in the deep end of the abundance pool. It was just, why did I not do this sooner? And often we learn in hindsight, and I certainly did. But I love my life. I love the work that I do, and I just feel so blessed.
That's beautiful. I love it. And I love when it just kind of, we were talking before we came on live about, not forcing it, just allowing it to organically unfold.
Yeah, I actually resisted it for a very long time. Working as in broadcasting and as a reporter to start, and then I was a newscaster and morning show host on the radio, and I told a few people that I kind of did this, and it just wasn't. There was a lot of I was not in alignment, I guess, with a group of people who were into it. There were some that were kind of fascinated and wanted to know more, but for the most part, I kept it very quiet and to myself. And once I stepped out of my own way, that was kind of when I stopped blocking it and allowed it to happen the way that it was supposed to. And literally, it was like floodgates. It happened for me relatively quickly, and yeah, and again, when I look back at it now, and can remember when I literally when I started stepping out of my way, and there was just an overflowing of support and love and clients and direction, just that I wasn't expecting it to come. It was if it was I wanted to say effortless, and I believe that the law of attraction is effortless. It didn't come without hard work, as building a business and entrepreneurship is hard work, I believe, for everybody, but it felt like inspired work. It didn't feel like work at
Right.
all. It felt like a labor of love, for lack of a better term.
No, I love that. And I can totally align with that completely. I'm kind of curious though, I feel like the question that's coming through is, what did it look like getting out of your own way? How did that look or feel or seem for you?
A lot of it was about some preconceived ideas, um, about what this would look like. I grew up in a family where, my dad worked for the city, worked for Hydro, was an IT kind of a guy, where it was, you worked for a large company or a corporation, and it was safe, and it was predictable. And I'm really the only one that's in my family that we took a completely different path. And so I really had to kind of figure that out on my own, and I'm blessed with some great friends who are entrepreneurs themselves, and they're like, yeah, you can do this. This is how you do it, and not relying on somebody else to provide your paycheck for you was a bit of a step. So I had to do a lot of research and working with a small business center and trusting my gut, that this was something that was going to be beneficial for me. There was also a piece where I had to stop worrying about what people would think. And again,
Yeah.
coming from a place that I loved, I will say I loved working in broadcasting. I was blessed. It really helped me to get out of my own way and get over myself and be comfortable speaking. So I'm grateful for that time. But it was also, again, as I mentioned before, it was an industry that really is fact based, and
Right.
with the kind of work that I'm doing with energy, sometimes we can see it, but sometimes we don't. And there isn't proof, and it's a leap of faith. And I had to tune out people who said this was either crazy or bluff or whatever else. I'm like, it used to bother me, and it doesn't anymore. Now it's like, well, that's okay. I'm not about convincing anybody. That's really not my job. I was just absolutely delighted to find so many people who were in alignment with it, and I didn't have to debate or that sort of thing. So stepping out of my own way was both physically stepping out of my own way and really mentally stepping out of my own way, and allowing the spiritual piece to come through, because once I did, a lot of that, a lot of those tools became stronger.
Well, and the other piece I keep hearing in there is that you aligned yourself with people who could see your vision and support you in your vision.
Absolutely. There's a dear friend of mine who, she's a real estate agent, and she has the biggest heart of anybody that I know. And she wants to help people, and she put together a group here in my city of local women who are also entrepreneurs. And it was originally arranged to kind of help her clients, right? So there's a lawyer in the group, and there's a psychologist in the group, and then there's photographers and all kinds of creative people, me. And she put this group together as a way to kind of help grow business. But what it ended up being was this group of women who, even though we're also different and different minded and come from different places, we've all just become such great friends and great support network for each other. So that was a huge part of it for me, having that sort of support, especially from people that I didn't expect it. People who are in these businesses that are not necessarily spiritual businesses, but their spirituality plays a role in their work. And I didn't realize or come to that realization that everything really is very gray, and that all of the pieces go together. And whether you're working for the government, or whether you're a lawyer, or whether you're a broadcaster, your heart and your spirit plays a role in your work. It's all connected, mind, body, and spirit. And that was it was a delight for me to align with this group of women, and they've been so supportive of me, and we give back to each other as well.
Right.
So that was wonderful.
That's beautiful. And I hope that the women in the group take note of this, that it's really, I think it's important to have a support group of women, even if it's just two or three, and you don't need to be in the same business. It's just because you each bring something special to the table. And what we were talking about before, you were saying about, you're aligned on an energetic level.
100%. And regardless of the group that you're in, this is a business support group. But whether you've got groups of friends, and everybody's got groups of friends, and everybody does bring something else to that table, and it creates an energy in and of itself, which is a wonderful thing, right? We need each other. Now maybe even more than ever, we need each other. And that's a part of my upbringing as well, that that community and religion. And I harken back to my childhood, because I was brought up in a Catholic family, and community was such an important piece of it. And being a part of a community, and being a player in a community, and giving back to your community, all of those kinds of things they're all a part of it. And everyone's got such a unique offering, that why not share it?
That's beautiful. Well, now let's come forward to, you mentioned earlier that you do Reiki and you're a medium. And I think
Yeah,
of those as two different things. And
they
are
are.
they?
They are, but they also combine really well. And I discovered Reiki from a former student of mine. I also teach part-time at the college here in my city. And I discovered Reiki from a former student of mine. She was telling me that it would be great, and I went because I was doing readings at the time, and I there was a lot of energetic gunk that was kind of blocking, I think. And I thought, oh, I'm going to go for Reiki, and I went and gave it a try, and it was such a change for me. I came out of there clear-headed and lighter, and I thought, oh, this is amazing. I need to learn how to do this so that I can do it on myself to make
Right.
my better. But oddly enough, so I took my first and second level Reiki, and I found that when I started doing Reiki on myself, that my readings became more clear, messages started becoming more clear. But also, I realized as I was doing it that my clients needed Reiki. So well, even though it was selfish, my motivation, it ended up being, this wasn't about me. It wasn't for me. It was really more for my clients. So there was another, reason to get out of my own way. So I wanted to be able to help them. So I continued on with my Reiki learning. So I became a Reiki Master 2 years ago, and then carried on another sort of an offshoot of Reiki and got level 4. And moving forward, I'm going to be taking my teaching certificate this summer so that I can teach people Reiki. And man, Reiki is so wonderful, and I wish that more people knew about it and knew how to use it. And um, I think that we would have a lot less anxiety and stress, less stress. I think that the way that we channel stress can actually be to our benefit. But if more people knew how to use that, I think that it would be amazing. And Reiki is connected to channeling or to mediumship, I believe, because when I do Reiki, I really am in vibrating to another frequency, right? Clearing out all of
Right.
the energetic around. It just clears the pathway to be able to tune into the energy that's around my clients. So it was just the combination of a great couple of tools for me that really helped me to kind of grow myself, but also to help improve the offering that I make to my clients.
That's beautiful. And it totally makes sense now the way you explain it. And I can see how they complement each other very much so,
They
um,
really
for you, but as well as for your client getting clarity. Um, what kind of things, is there like a common theme about why people seek out mediums?
it's all over the place. Some I do a lot of group work as well. So I just this past weekend there was a 30th birthday party, and there were 10 girls all got together, and they thought, well, let's bring in Mindy, and let's just have a deep dive and have a look. And so some of it is playful and fun, and there's a curiosity about it. And other people will come to me who are grieving deeply, and they want to dig in and make connections with their loved ones. So the reasons are so far apart each time. Some people want more clarity moving forward with their own life. Some people are looking for aid in making decisions moving forward for the future. Some people are looking for meaning in their life. And when I'm doing my readings, I am a medium, and I channel spirits and spirit guides and loved ones who have passed and animals, and that happens a lot. I also use two other tools. I use tarot. Tarot is beautiful, and channeling comes through when I'm using tarot as well. And I also use numerology, which I think is a what's the word that I'm looking for? It doesn't get nearly the attention that it should, as a tool to help us to live our lives. It's the wonderful thing about it. Everybody's psychic. Everybody is psychic. Everybody is a medium. We're just all at different stages of being aware of that. With numerology, you don't have to feel woo woo in order to use it. It's just math, and it's so easy. And I absolutely love using numerology as a tool, and teaching my clients how to use it as well, because they can tune into the energy around them. And it's not that I don't want my clients to come to me. Absolutely, I do. But there's so much that they can tap into about the energy that's around them, that helps them to find their clarity within. Because who am I to tell anybody what your life should be? I do my very best not to tell my clients what to do.
Right.
My hope is that after having a reading with me, they understand that their answers are within, and that they're in the driver's seat of their life at all times, and they can find their validation or their clarity just by not looking outward, but by taking a close look inward.
That's what's so exciting because you were when you brought up numerology, I was remembering when I first learned about tools, you know, numerology, astrology, tarot cards, Akashic records, and the list goes on. And that was like 40 years ago. And it was really in the closet back then, but
Mhm.
now it's pretty much part of mainstream or a certain sector of mainstream compared to 40 years ago. And it's just really exciting that younger people are exposed to this much, much younger, much, much sooner. Um, like you said, to tap in that we all are psychic, we all have this innate intelligence that if we would just tune in, uh,
Yeah.
would help us with our choices and our decisions and what's really right for us. Um, but I think there's this collective consciousness too that we've been conditioned out of listening, that somehow external life knows better than we do. And I
Oh,
think
for
that
sure.
tide is turning.
Yeah, I believe it is too. I think that society and the world really glorifies busyness and the physical and the mental, and there's a lot of emphasis that's placed on. I was talking to a client the other day. She's, oh, it's so busy. I'm so busy. I was so busy. I didn't have time for lunch, and I'm like, good for you. Like, is that supposed to be a good thing? Um,
I-
and and our busyness is sometimes, or what I find anyway, for me, is that sometimes busyness is just a way to distract us from really kind of digging in, and it keeps us distracted, and we're on this hamster wheel until sometimes we have a breakdown, and or sometimes we run out of energy, or we get to a place where it's like, what am I even doing here? And we forget that the answers have been with us all along, but we really have to tune out, not tune out the noise, because I don't think that the noise is ever not there. I think we have to either get under it or get over it or go through it in order to tune it out, in order to quiet it down. It's always going to be there when you go back to it. But we do have to isolate and introspect and self reflect, in order for the busyness in our life to really make sense, or for it to have meaning. I think sometimes being busy is a wonderful thing, and but I think that the true joy and the reflection comes in the afterwards, and being able to kind of sit and reflect on the busyness, and reflect on the things that we've done or the things that we didn't do because we were so busy, and find meaning in that as well.
and I've met a lot of people through my life that are actually afraid of that inner voice or quieting I'll call it the ego mind, um, and tuning in like it's some judge and jury. And
Yeah.
and it's not like that at all.
No, I don't think that there's. I don't think that we're judged. I don't think the universe judges good or bad, right or wrong, pleasant or unpleasant. It's we put the judgments on things, right? And
Right.
we judge things, people, situations, and circumstances as good or bad, right or wrong. And people can choose to, not get out of their way, and live a life of busyness, and never really come to that realization that, maybe there was something greater or something different, that was meant for me, and had that happened, maybe I would have been different, or making different choices. But we're the ones that place that judgment. And it was funny. I was rewatching episodes of Ted Lasso last week, which I love, that show. And there was a line in the show, that I didn't, not that I didn't agree with it. The line was, "Be curious, not judgmental," and I appreciate the sentiment. I really do. But I believe that there's so much that we can learn about ourselves through our own judgments, because we jump to judgment, good or bad, right or wrong, about things. And The minute you say, don't judge or try not to judge, that's what we're going to do. I think that our judgments are, I think that they're often spontaneous, and they often tell us more about the shadow of ourselves that help us to live our life. But again, we have to quiet that noise and have a think about, all right, well, what did I judge today, and what can I learn about myself from that, and how can I help myself
Or
through
just
those.
even noticing, like you said, it's like an automatic response, and just how empowering it is to just even take notice. It's like,
Right?
oh, I had a judgment about XYZ. That's curious, you know,
Yeah.
like, and so much of it is just taught to us and handed down that, we don't even know to question it.
And I think that when we do, there is on some level a realization that we have so much more power than we think we do. We think that things happen to us, and they do. I don't believe that everything that happens in our life is something that we've manifested. I don't believe that at all. I believe that it's a lot more complicated than that. But I do believe that those judgments can help us to intentionally use the law of attraction to create circumstances and experiences that we want intentionally. And again, it's sometimes it's the judgments that help us to realize that.
Exactly. I know, I just feel like we could talk all afternoon.
I know.
It's just,
I know.
it's just so much fun. So tell us a little bit about your services and your practice and how people can get in touch with you.
So when people come into me to see or to do a reading, I do readings both online and in person. I love the in-person piece, but it is not absolutely necessary in order to do a good reading. So I take a first name and a birth date, and I use your birth date to put together your numerological charts. So I do a birth grid chart to determine what tools you were given on the day that you're born with which you can choose to live your life. We look at your life path number, and we also look at your personal year with regards to the numerology. As my clients come in and sit down, I start to do a download of their energy, and we channel their loved ones, spirit guides. Sometimes fluff shows up, honestly, and psychic fluff is stuff floating around in your energy field, right? Every thought and every word and every action that we take in our life carries an energy associated with it. And sometimes it's just left floating around there, and it doesn't necessarily have any meaning associated with it. And then at the end of the readings, after we do the channeling and a little bit of numerology, I use tarot. And tarot is such a pretty tool. And it is just a tool. And we do what is called a Celtic spread. So that takes a read of the energy that you're bringing into the space, what gets in your way, the energy that's been around you, and the energy moving forward for you. And then if the client has any questions, we use tarot or channeling or numerology to either provide validation or provide clarity. I also have some beautiful Reiki space, so I use aromatherapy as well as sound in my Reiki sessions. So we go through and clear out all of that energetic gunk and leaves it nice and clear. Super easy to find me. Intuitivematters.ca is my website, and there's a contact page where you can reach out directly to me, and we can arrange a time and a platform. If it's someone where distance or mobility makes it difficult to get to me in my reading space, we can do those online, and we go from there.
That's beautiful. I'm excited about this. So we'll be sure to put in the summary above this interview and in the comments how you can get in touch with Mindy if you're ready to take that next step, if you're ready to have a reading or ready to have something cleared out or both. Um, this has been really special. I'm thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. And to Tammy for making the initial connection. So
Right,
I'm
right.
great.
I love that.
I think everything happens for a reason, and we were meant to talk today. Serendipities, synchronicities, all of those kinds of things just are the delight of life and a part of what makes things magic. So I'm grateful that you were able to find some time for me, and I wish you just the absolute best. And thank you so very much.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. My favorite word is synergy, or synchronicity rather. It's, how things unfold and come together and just, and sometimes you can see it. Sometimes you can see the connections, and other times we don't. But before we go today, are there any parting words of wisdom you'd like to share with the group?
Um, I would like to say that in order to manifest, and I say this because in here in Canada we just had an election, and we are a little divided as a country in terms of who we wanted to take us into the next few years, and there was a lot of complaining and a lot of naysaying, and I will say that the key to manifesting great things in your life, wonderful things, peaceful things, happy things, is to spend a lot more time focusing on those things that bring us joy than focusing on the things that irritate us or get under our skin. The less we give attention to that, and the more we focus on things that are joyful, I believe more joyful things will flow into our lives. So if there's anything that you can take away from this, focus on the joy and you'll get more.
I love that. Well, Mindy, again, thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see more of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.